Hi everyone. Welcome to the final practice in our Expanding Your Palate series. Once again, I invite you to take some time to prepare yourself in your space. Ready your music, incense or fragrant oils, candles, anything else that helps you to feel grounded and focused. And then prepare your body. Get comfortable. Maybe slow and deepen your breathing and still yourself. Prepare your heart, either by giving attention to any strong emotions that need your attention right now, or by placing them into a container of some kind until you're ready to receive them back at the end of the practice. And prepare your mind in the same way. Either give attention to thoughts that need it, or place your thoughts in a container, or maybe simply notice them, honor them, and then let them go. And then when you're ready, take one more deep breath in, hold it for a heartbeat, and release it. And now you may want to use the following questions to center yourself and get focused for the practice ahead. What experiences, feelings, thoughts, ideas, or seasons in your life do you think of as bad or negative, and would you want to get rid of? What experiences, feelings, thoughts, ideas, or seasons in your life do you think of as good or positive, and would you want to cling to and get more of? What role do each of these sets of experiences, feelings, thoughts, and seasons play in your life? And now, if it's helpful, you may want to share in this simple prayer. Today I celebrate the good times, golden afternoons of sunshine and laughter, restful mornings in conversation with loved ones, exciting discoveries and energized play. And I honor the tough times, uncertain futures, tears for a lost past, dark days of sickness and struggle. And I open my heart, mind, and life to every season, every color of human experience, and to the wisdom and growth in all of them that have and will continue to enrich my life. So may it be. For quite a long time, my family and I were avid watchers of Survivor when it first came out, and it was one of the first reality television shows, and then when it came along, we became huge fans of The Amazing Race as well. And there was one thing that they had in common that always had us fascinated and disgusted and amazed, and that was the food challenges. We always got a strange glee from watching contestants desperately trying to eat something from a different culture that they wouldn't usually even think of as food. I think the one that freaked me out the most was when they had to eat tarantulas. Now, I'm not against trying new foods and drinks. In fact, I love it. I loved experimenting with frog legs when I was in Amsterdam. I probably won't have them again, but I'm so glad I tried. And here in South Africa, I had to try mopani worms. They definitely weren't great for me. But again, I'm glad I tried. But what if being willing to explore these differences can actually save our lives and our planet? I mean, what if eating insects, which are cheap and sustainable to raise and are a great source of protein and other nutrients, could increase both our health and that of the earth? Would you be willing to do it? Would you at least be willing to consider it or learn more about it? And yet how easily we label some food as good and some as bad. Some food as edible, other food as, well, that's not even really food. Even when these foods have been used By human beings for thousands of years we do that. But okay, let's move away from food for a moment. Let's just look at what we do with our lives, with the various experiences that are unavoidably part of every life. We all experience different seasons in the natural world, year after year, but also in our lives, seasons of plenty, seasons of scarcity, seasons of light and dark, seasons of joy and grief, seasons of strength and weakness. And yet how easily we label some seasons as bad and some as good. How much we want to multiply some seasons and reject others. But these are all things that make up our lives. And every season, every emotion, every experience, good or bad, has something to teach us, something from which we can grow, something to enrich, deepen, and enliven us. I'm not saying that God makes these things happen, that's just bad theology. But I do believe that even the worst of times can be the raw material for creativity, for growth, and for a deeper life. So what if we started using all the colors available to us? What if we let go of should and meant to be's, and we just worked with every possibility that life throws at us? And how would we do this? Well, here are some thoughts. And again, I'd be grateful if you would add your perspectives as well. Firstly, it can be tremendously life-giving when we allow the seasons of the natural world and the colors and variety in nature to teach us. When we do this, it can challenge why we view some things as good and some as bad. For example, why do we love eagles but not vultures? Why do we love jackals but not hyenas? Don't they all have a valid role to play in their ecosystem? Why do some creatures always end up as bad guys in our cartoons and others are always the good guys? Why are some always seen as strong and some as weak? What if we allowed them to show us who they are from their perspective? What if we recognized that there is good and bad in every creature? Now, I absolutely love cheetahs. The cheetah is probably the closest thing to a spirit animal I would ever have. Generally, cheetahs are seen as good, beautiful, graceful, and in full flight, when they're running at full speed, they are majestic. But what about the impala? Well, I guess we would say that they're also good. They're so beautiful, they're gentle, they're serene. But cheetahs kill impalas. Does that make cheetahs bad? On what basis would we make such a value judgment about wild creatures? And why then would we view an alligator or a crocodile as bad, a great white shark as violent, or an anaconda as evil? What would happen if we began to seek beauty even in the ugly? If we began to seek nobility even in what we might think of as savage? How might opening to new perspectives like this shift how we experience the different colors of our world and our lives? And then secondly, we can allow our observations of nature to lead us into a greater curiosity in every season. We can nourish the practice of curiosity, of exploring and seeking understanding before making value judgments. In every experience, as painful and distasteful as it may be, we can choose to listen to what it is telling us. We can look for the wisdom, find the lesson, and explore how this color, the color of the season, can be useful in our lives and in who we are becoming. A few years ago, I ruptured the distal tendon in my left arm. I had surgery to repair it, but it has left my left bicep malformed, and I have a pretty big scar on my arm. When I was healing up, I visited a forum for people who had experienced the same injury, and most of them spoke with varying degrees of grief about the enlarged gap between their bicep and their elbow. And I shared that grief, but over time, I came to see that this scar held a gift. You see, my injury happened because I was exploring some gymnastic moves with my son, who'd become pretty proficient on the parallel bars and rings. And I pushed my body further than it could manage, and so I injured myself. There's a clear lesson there. And I've learned to listen to my body a little better because of it. But this scar also speaks to me of a wonderful time of play and happiness in my family. And so it's a reminder of joy. And finally, this is a visible scar, but it's not my only one. It's taught me, along with my other scars, that we all get scars. No one gets through life unharmed or unmarked. And so I've learned a new acceptance of and appreciation for my scars because, yes, I've been marked, but I've survived. I'm still here. And I'm stronger and wiser because of my scars. And then finally, flowing out of our observance of nature and our willingness to learn from nature, we can develop a practice of entering the difficult seasons of our lives with an openness to the life that is hidden there, the creativity that these seasons offer, and the chance to find new, more life-giving ways of being. So much of how we experience what we think of bad times is related to how we interpret and evaluate them. We don't have to celebrate the dark times necessarily, but we also don't have to catastrophize them, make them bigger than they are, and allow them to distort our vision until they are all we see. All great art requires both light and shadow. And when we learn to use all the colors, including the deepest blacks, we open ourselves to a deeper and richer and more awakened life. We find ourselves more able to enjoy and get immersed in the joys and the lights. And we are more able to connect deeply with God, with ourselves, with others and the world, because we don't need to hold ourselves back to the same extent. We live in a world where we tend to avoid the bad, the painful, the dark, and seek only the good, the pleasurable, and the light. But imagine living in a world with no nighttime, no winter. Well, we can't. It has a massively damaging effect on us when we only have one kind of season or one kind of light. People in places with 6 months of darkness at a time need special equipment to mimic the light in order to survive it and not go a little mad. Plants cannot grow without seasons and the cycle of day and night, death and rebirth, planting and harvest, and nor can we. And yet somehow we seem to always be trying to avoid what we need, and our lives are poorer and more monochrome as a result. If we want to live abundantly, vibrantly, and authentically, then we need to embrace and learn to use all the seasons as part of the masterpiece of our lives that we are creating, drawing on all the colors, new and old, good and bad. So why not start today? Again, take a moment to sit with this meditation. Notice what stood out for you, what challenged or excited you, and what made you curious or anxious. And make a note to come back to these insights through the coming week. And then when you're ready, you may find it helpful to explore the following questions as you respond to today's practice. What light are you experiencing in your life right now? What darkness are you experiencing in your life right now? How have you experienced using all the colors of your experiences in creating your life? And what can you do to be more intentional about embracing and using all the different seasons and colors in your world and in your life? And now, in a moment of silent reflection, I invite you into another imaginative visualization. In your mind, go back to a time when you were really happy or peaceful or in a good space. Feel the feelings and try to experience being there again as vividly as you can. And when you feel present to that memory, ask yourself how it has impacted your life. Think about what you've carried with you from that time and how it has shaped who you are. And now do the same, but with a time of sadness, grief, or struggle. If it's traumatic, don't live into it too deeply. Either just remember it and then reflect on its impact, or maybe choose a less traumatic memory to work with. But what have you carried from that time, that difficult time, that sad time? How has it shaped who you are? And how can you use the colors from this time to create a more vibrant and meaningful life now? And when you've done this, take a moment to give thanks for your journey and all the different seasons you've been through. Acknowledge both the joy and the grief, and open your heart to who you have become as a result of this journey. And you may want to offer a prayer, or in some way just express gratitude and love to life and to yourself, and honor your life's path. And now, as you go into the rest of your week, I encourage you to engage with your creativity in one of two ways. Firstly, you may want to identify what motivates your creativity. Is it positive and happy feelings and experiences? Or is it sad and difficult times? And if you feel drawn more to one than to the other in your creativity, try to expand your creative expression into the other experiences and feelings that you wouldn't normally associate with your creativity. And then secondly, if there are any creative projects that you view as failures, go back and embrace them as simply a different season or a different experience of creativity, and see what you can learn from those so-called failed projects. Try to incorporate whatever the failed project was into a new project that honors the failure and the season in which it was created. And so that's it for this practice and for this series. I hope you found it helpful to expand your palette and open yourself to the new, to the old, to mashups of the two, and to every color in this human life of ours. Thanks for sharing this practice with me. I'll see you next time.